Assalamu alaikum. The lecture today is the first lecture about the placenta, development, barrier, circulation and function of the placenta. Definition of the placenta. The placenta represents the site of communication of two portions, fetal chorion and maternal decidua, so the placenta is called choriodecidual membrane. Introduction. As we said before, the fetal membrane include the amnion, yolk sac, allantois, and chorion. The chorion here is the trophoblast. After formation of the three layers, the trophoblast, after forming the outer layer syncytial trophoblast, middle layer cytoplasm, and the inner layer extra-urbanic mesoderm, these three layers originating from the trophoblast are collectively called chorion. On the another side, the decidua is the endometrium after fertilization and implantation. This is the endometrium in the female cycle, in the first half of the cycle, pre-ovulatory endometrium. Then the endometrium is second in the second half of the cycle after ovulation under effect of the progesterone secreted from the corpus luteum. Then, if fertilization occurs, the endometrium becomes more thickened and more vascularized. The thickness is increased, as we said, to accommodate the implanted embryo. After implantation, the endometrium takes the name decidua. So the decidua is the endometrium of the uterus after implantation. Here, this is the implanted embryo. Here is the decidua bizalis at the base of the implanted embryo. And here is the decidua capsularis forming the capsule or the cover or covering the implanted embryo. This is the early stage of development, which is called the blastocyst. This is the embryoblast, and this is the trophoblast forming the chorion. As we said, development. After fertilization, as we said, the endometrium is thickened under the effect of progesterone secreted by the corpus luteum. Development of placenta included two main components, as we said, development of decidua and development of the chorion. Development of the decidua, the thick vascular glandular endometrium is then called decidua, containing leukocytes and decidual cells. With further growth of the embryo, the decidua is divided into three portions, as we see. Decidua bizalis. Decidua bizalis is the part that lies at the base of the embryo, separating it from the myometrium or muscle wall of the uterus. Decidua capsularis is this part covering the embryo, covering the implanted embryo, forming the capsule for the embryo, separating it from the cavity of the uterus. The rest of the lining endometrium of the uterus is called decidua parietalis. This is the decidua parietalis. So the decidua is differentiated into three portions: decidua bizalis, decidua capsularis, and decidua parietalis. Fate of the decidua. As a result of further growth of the embryo, the cavity of the uterus is obliterated. This cavity is obliterated with further growth of the embryo. This results in stretch and disappearance of this layer, which is called decidua capsularis. And also, this layer is compressed and disappear, which is called decidua parietalis. The only part of the decidua which persists is the decidua bizalis here, and persists to form the maternal part of the placenta. The second component of development of the placenta is development of the chorion. The chorion, as we said, is the outer membrane within which the embryo and yolk sac are suspended by the connecting fluid. It's formed from the two layers of trophoblast, cytoplasm and cytoplast, and the associated extra embryonic mesoderm. This is the syncytioplast, this is the cytoplast middle layer, and the inner layer here, colored with blue color, is the extra embryonic mesoderm. Here, at this stage, the trophoblast is named as chorion after formation of extra embryonic mesoderm. Development of the chorion passes into the following stage. The first is development of trabeculae. Trabeculae, as we see here, are finger-like processes arising from the syncytioplast. These finger-like processes rule the endometrium. This results in the formation of regular lacunae in between these trabeculae. The lacunae contain maternal blood in between the lacunae. Then the second is the development of primary chorionic villi. Primary chorionic villi. Primary chorionic villi, they are developed by growth and extension of cytoplasm in the center of the trabeculae. This figure, this diagram shows the trabeculae. Shows the trabeculae, which represented here. This trabeculae here, this trabeculae here, this transverse shelves represent the trabeculae here, formed from the syncytioplast. Extension of cytoplast, the second layer in the center of these trabeculae, then the trabeculae takes the name primary chorionic villi. Then the development of primary chorionic villi developed by growth of extension of cytoplast in the center of the trabeculae. Then these cells extend deep in the decidua of the endometrium to form a continuous shell, preventing further erosion of the endometrium, as we will see in the next slide. The third is the development of secondary chorionic villi. This is the primary. This is the trabeculae. This is the syncytial trabeculae. Extension of the cytoplast results in the formation of primary villi. Then the cytoplast continues together deep to form a shell to prevent further erosion of the trabeculae into the endometrium, to prevent extension into the myometrium. Then the first stage, as we said, is the syncytial trabeculae. The second is the primary villi, appear with extension of the cytoplast in the center of the syncytioplast. Then secondary chorionic villi developed by extension of extra embryonic mesoderm in the center of the primary villi. This is the second layer, which is this is the second layer, which is called extra embryonic mesoderm in the center of the primary villi. So the fourth step of development is development of tertiary chorionic villi. This is developed by growth and extension of the fetal blood vessels in the center of the villi. Again, the development of the chorion passes into syncytial trabeculae, primary villi, secondary villi. Syncytial trabeculae, the trabeculae formed by syncytial trabeculae, the trabeculae formed by the syncytiotrophblast. This is the first layer of the chorion. Then the second layer of the chorion, middle layer, which is the cytotrophblast. When it extends into the center or the core of the syncytial trabeculae, then the syncytial trabeculae is named the primary villi. Then when the third layer, which is the extra-embryonic mesoderm, extend into the center of the primary villi, the primary villi takes the name secondary chorionic villi. Secondary chorionic villi. Secondary chorionic villi, it changes or takes the name tertiary chorionic villi when the fetal blood vessels extend into its center. When the fetal blood vessels extend into the center of the secondary villi, their name changes into or to tertiary chorionic villi. Tertiary chorionic villi. Then development of decidual septa, a number of incomplete decidual septa appear and project into the intervillous spaces. These septa incompletely divide the placenta into 15 to 20 cotyledons, as we will see in the next lecture. Fate of chorionic villi. All chorionic villi degenerate, except that is situated opposite the base of the developing chorionic vesicle, or at the base of the developing chorionic vesicle. So the villi related to the decidua bizalis persist and enlarge to form chorion frondosum. This is the fetal part of the placenta. Then we talk about the formation of the placenta. The placenta is, as we said before, is formed from the chorion frondosum. This is the fetal component. Joins the decidua bizalis, which is a maternal component, to form the placenta, which is called choriodecidual membrane. Placental barrier. It is the barrier or membrane separating the fetal blood from the maternal blood. During pregnancy, there must no mixing occurring between the maternal and the fetal blood. No direct mixing between the two types of blood, maternal and fetal blood. But there is a placental barrier or barrier called placental barrier. The structure of the placental barrier in the early stage of pregnancy is relatively thick, reach about 25 micron up to the 4th month. This is the section in the tertiary chorionic villi or villus, representing the structure of the placental barrier. That is represented by the outer layer is the syncytiotrophblast, then followed by the cytotrophblast, then followed by the extra-embryonic mesoderm, then followed by the endothelium of the fetal blood vessels. This is the placental barrier in the early stage of pregnancy. As we see, the placental barrier here is relatively thick to give more protection, especially immunological protection for the developing embryo, as in the early stage of development, there is embryogenesis or genesis for the different organs and systems. So the embryo needs more protection. But after that, after the first month, the thickness gradually decreases. The thickness gradually decreases and the barrier becomes thin to reach about 1 to 2 micron, as we see, to compensate the increase in demands of the fetus for nutrients and oxygen and other. This is the placental barrier after the first month, formed from only 2 layers, outer syncytial cytoplasm and the inner endothelium of the fetal blood vessels. So here the placental barrier is formed from the outer layer and inner layer. The outer layer of syncytial cytoplasm, and inner layer, which is represented by the endothelium of the fetal blood vessels. Placental circulation occurs. This is the maternal blood. This is the fetal blood separated by the placental barrier. Placental circulation occurs. Oxygenated blood carrying nutrients reach the intervillous spaces. Then the oxygen and the nutrients passes through the placental barrier to the fetal blood. At the same time, carbon dioxide from the fetal blood and waste product passes in the reverse direction through the placental barrier to reach the maternal blood. Placental functions, we can summarize it or to remember it by these 3 letters, tips. The first is T, second is P, and the last is S. T, transfer system or system function. The placenta takes the functions of the different systems, the major system. So it transmits gases, so called lung function. It transmits nutrients called GIT or gastrointestinal tract function. Also it transmits waste product, so represents the kidney function. Here the gases, exchange of gases occur through simple diffusion. As follows: oxygen, as we said, passes from the blood of the mother to that of the fetus. On the other side, carbon dioxide passes from the blood of the fetus to that of the mother. Regarding the nutrients, GIT function, or gastrointestinal tract function, it allows the passage of nutrients from the blood of the mother to that of the fetus. This may be achieved by simple diffusion, such as in case of water and electrolytes and urea, facilitated diffusion, e.g. glucose, active transport, such as in amino acids. This last is the waste or kidney function. Waste products are excreted from the blood of the fetus to that of the mother. The second function is the protection or mechanical. Second is the function which include mechanical and immunological protection. The mechanical function, as we know, the placenta anchors the fetus, acting as the root of the tree. The fetus is represented by the tree. The placenta is its root. And the umbilical cord represents the trunk. No problem. It anchors the fetus, so acting as the root for the tree. The second important function, mineralogical protection. This is the function of the placental barrier. So you must know the structure of the placental barrier and its function. This is the function of the placental barrier, which is represented here by the immunological protection. The placenta prevents the passage of most maternal hormones to the fetus. So increase or decrease of the maternal hormones or hormones inside the body of the mother not reach her fetus, but only the hormones given exogenous or by injection or by taking the mother. These hormones or exogenous hormones might pass through this placental barrier. However, the placenta prevents the hormonal changes, internal hormonal changes inside the body of the mother from reaching the fetus. Also, it prevents the passage of most microorganisms. At the same time, it allows passage of antibodies from the mother to her fetus. However, the placental barrier is incomplete barrier. This is important point must be mentioned. Such as some synthetic hormones can pass the placental barrier. As we said before, the progestin crosses the placenta, might causing masculinization. Progestin, which is the external use of progesterone or synthetic progesterone. Some microorganisms, such as rubella, measles, and poliomyelitis viruses, can also pass it. Most drugs can pass it and may cause serious effects, such as thalidomide may induce teratogen-induced limb defects. Most drugs must be or should be avoided during pregnancy, especially in the first trimester of pregnancy, to avoid its possible passage to the fetus. Also, addicted mother with addiction of the mother with heroin or cocaine can result in habituation of her fetus. So the pregnant mother must avoid the drugs as she can as possible. Also must avoid any drugs as general. Placental function, also the third, is the secretion. The placenta represents an temporary endocrine gland during the period of pregnancy. By the end of the 4th month, it takes the function of the ovary, secreting the following hormones. By the 4th month, it takes the function of the ovary. So in animal experiment done on animals, the 2 ovaries are removed after the first stage of pregnancy, and the pregnancy completed, not affected by removal of the 2 ovaries, as the placenta takes the function of the ovary after its formation during pregnancy. The placenta secreted the female hormones, progesterone, to maintain the pregnancy. As we know, the progesterone is the hormone of pregnancy. Pro mean for, gestation mean pregnancy. This hormone is the hormone of pregnancy, or hormone for pregnancy, progesterone. This hormone maintains the pregnancy and supports the endometrium to accommodate, as we said before, the implanted embryo. The second hormone is the estrogen. This is the feminine hormone, estrogen, to stimulate the growth of the uterus. As we see, this is the uterus here, non-pregnant here in the pelvis. This is the pregnancy as the full term that may reach that reaches the diaphragm, as we see. This is enlarged uterus under the effect of the hormone estrogen secreted by the placenta. So the placenta secreted progesterone to maintain pregnancy, especially in the early stage of pregnancy, and the second hormone to stimulate the growth of the uterus and mammary glands. Also, it secretes another two hormones, human chorionic gonadotropin, which is secreted in the first 2 months of pregnancy to maintain the corpus luteum. To keep or maintain the corpus luteum. This hormone is secreted early in pregnancy and excreted in urine. Its presence in urine is used for diagnosis of pregnancy. The second hormone, or the last hormone secreted, is the placental lactogen. Somatomamotropin, which stimulates the mammary gland, for preparing it for milk production. So the placenta secreted 4 hormones: progesterone, estrogen, human chorionic gonadotropin, and placental lactogen. Thank you. The next lecture will be about the normal and abnormal placenta. Thank you.